Welcome to Great Overload, and this Microsoft announcement is, nothing on its face value, right? It's just a multi-year partnership with AMD. But when we look at what Sarah Bond was talking about in the just over a minute video, it starts to open up other pathways and ideas of what may be happening down the road. Now, Xbox has taken a turn here as of late, right? They're really focused on getting, they're more of like a publisher, right? Getting the games out there, developer of games too, and getting those out there for users. While I think that's great, and I hope that they continue it since they bought a lot of studios and I want to have a lot of games to play. One thing I, was wondering about is where the hardware side is going to go. And that's, maybe a little bit more clarity here now that we have this partnership with AMD. We know that, they were looking at ARM stuff too. Now, maybe there's still an ARM device out there, but what is interesting is that maybe that's from AMD, and I think AMD could deliver on something there as well with ARM. They do have an ARM license, and you start looking at maybe what is possible. I think AMD has an opportunity here to maybe do that. Now, what will this council look like? You know, they were just announcing they just signed a multi-year deal together, right? But they are, and it looks like that it's been talked about here, trying to make Windows, this was at the end, uh, the best gaming platform. So are these devices going to be Windows based? Is the ROG Ally X, the start of this? That's one question I have. I think it is. And then what is the whole realm that's going to be going through this, right? So if we're going to build this hardware lineup, right? Because it was a hardware lineup there, right? It's going to be a portfolio of devices. AMD's providing the silicon for these. It's going to be consoles in your living room and in your hands. So you keep thinking about all this stuff. Is that console a computer, right? Is the handheld a computer like the ROG, Xbox Ally, there? What is the branding of these? Or is this, the brand of we're going to have AMD build a portfolio of chips that can be used for gaming consoles, whether that is in your hands, in the computer, or in your home theater system. And these devices OEMs will be able to build. Can we take it a step further and then sell those as ITX boards and I can use them to build my own, right? That was the other thing that I was thinking about here. They talked a little bit about AI, and they specifically talked about play anywhere and having Xbox games be able to be, play anywhere. So is this going to get to a point where we've heard now the rumors is that the Xbox team worked with Windows to help free up some memory so that it could be more efficient in gaming, especially for the Ally X, right? Now in here, Sarah Bond's talking about Windows is going to be the #1 platform for gaming, which I think SteamOS had a big part in playing, is if they do refocus, that can be traced back to how Linux gaming, I think, has been starting to take steps forward. Now, will Windows be the #1 platform for gaming? Probably just by default for now, but if they keep throwing the junk and making mistakes in Windows like they have been doing lately, I don't think that'll last forever. And not being locked to a single store. These are all things that are in the video that you start pulling it back and what are the options here? What are the device things? And maybe the commitment to Xbox gamers is that you're going to be able to game on anything. We're going to give you the best possible um, performance, the best possible experience in that handheld, in that console, and in that desktop, depending upon what hardware you want to buy. And maybe, while Nintendo is selling, the Switch 2 is selling really well, Sony has their own consoles and they got a huge heritage in that, right? Xbox is quite a bit newer, and then all these companies, from the original Xbox on out, and they have bought a lot more game studios as of recently and made a lot of game studio purchases over the years. And maybe that transition is to make sure that we have the hardware that is capable of playing these across the spectrum and it's just not that device. It's all on Windows. You can play games from wherever. The Xbox Play Anywhere is not just for your Xbox games, but we will have those Halo 5 stuff where if you do have an Xbox game that is only an Xbox, not on PC or whatever else, you pop, you grab your controller, you have that Xbox, boot up and into that layer, whatever it needs to, and you're off and playing that game. Yes, it can't be, you know, keyboard, mouse, but it can play there. And if Microsoft can do something like that, I think that there is a opportunity to be unique in there. And you could be like, well, Sony's unique, right? They have all their games and everything else, and I agree. But I think there's different options here for each company. Sony and Nintendo, right? They have a, heritage and laser focus in doing a good quality console, where I think Microsoft doesn't have the focus they once had, and they're trying to make this profitable, and they're not focused on the best end user experience. So what I'm thinking is, or just in my thoughts of how you approach this, is that let's do something so that we can hit across different price points, hit across different devices, kind of do a little bit of the initial Surface Pro model, right, where that was the Surface device was unique, be able to do that, hit across there, give different levels of performance so that there's different price points to get at, because Microsoft wants you where? In the Xbox Game Pass. And if you're going to even have, let's say, be able to play your Steam games, your Epic games, your GOG games, your whatever store you want to use games, all across the board, plus have Xbox there as well, and then you're just using the Xbox console for an Xbox mode or whatever it needs to be to run those games. Microsoft probably wants to make sure that you are coming back, buying games, and in that Game Pass environment. And if we can, even if you have to play other games in other game stores, make sure that you have that Game Pass so that we have those subscribers, and we can have different performance levels so that they can buy into. This might be their best option. Then you start thinking about, if you have AMD create not just one chip for you, but then another chip for ARM that is a low power mode with your Radeon graphics on it, then maybe x86 for higher powered, maybe different custom SoCs. AMD's kind of already there. They have some of this stuff already with their the Max chips, their AI 300 Max chips with the 385, 390, 395, I think that's what it is, or some of those numbers, right? That are in some of these framework, put it into their mini desktop. All of a sudden, you have a pretty big compute that they already have something kind of like there. Microsoft can package this up however they want. This could be an interesting there. Does this really challenge Sony in their niche or Nintendo in their niche? I don't think so. I think it's just then another computer based upon Windows, and it's going to be the gaming platform across the board. And we've had rumors that, and I think there's some clarification that Xbox is kind of just a mode on top of a Windows already. And if you have that, then what's the difference? I think even enabling a Windows mode and just having these gaming modes. If you've been listening to me a while, how many years have I been talking about that Xbox should have a Xbox gaming mode inside of Windows that turns off a lot of stuff and is the more efficient model. We could go a step further, and Windows should just be that in general, right? So you could have performance and doing other stuff. But these are the things that I've been starting to think about, that since Sarah Bond came out and talked about this, the silicon over a portfolio of devices, chances are that's just not one chip. If you're going from handhelds to living room, it's going to be multiple chips and multiple silicon there, multiple devices. What's stopping you from having just a handheld that maybe also docks for your low-powered stuff, kind of like the Switch area? I'm guessing Sony's going to come out with that too. They had that low-power mode that was leaked. I saw that on Moore's Law is Dead. He kind of leaked that. Check him out if you're looking for more information on that. But you got the multi-year deal. They've done other multi-year deals. Just the way they announced this, though, felt a little different of how they're trying to approach this. And yeah, they talked about AI, but so you have an NPU on there. Are you going to actually use it to play games? Or are you going to use it for something stupid like recall? Right? How is that going to be implemented? But the thing is the play anywhere stuff. Not locked to a single store. Windows is the number one gaming platform. You start thinking about these, consoles from your living room. You're just like, that seems like more than just one device. That seems like it's going to be a family, and if they sell, that would be kind of interesting. So, again, I think you should go a step further, Microsoft. If you're making Windows the best area, is that you have people like me that want in your DIY segment that want to build something and then run this stuff too. That's a great opportunity to also have this option. If it's just in Windows with a gaming mode there that you're going to probably have on these devices anyways, maybe you sell that chip. Maybe you do it in a price point where you have different these and people can build up different things around it and call that their Xbox. The selling point and creativity outside in the DIY market, rather than just having an HP, a Dell, Asus, an MSI, whoever else wants to build one of these, is that then all of a sudden people can be like, you know what, this is kind of unique. This is, what my console looks like. And maybe that's your selling point, is not just these manufacturers create their own Xboxes, Xboxes over and over again, but they go through and each person can create their own, case or whatever else, right? We got 3D printers now, right? We can do some of this stuff depending upon how the hardware looks. If it's ITX, you can do some things. Could be really interesting what people come up with. And maybe that's the uniqueness selling point to help people get excited about the Xbox stuff, from how Microsoft has kind of treated Xbox here lately. um, that's the out of the uniqueness here to kind of compete with Sony and Nintendo in just a gaming overall ecosystem. So that's some of my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. What you think about this announcement from Microsoft signing that multi-year partnership with AMD, and kind of what they've seen in the video there. I will link their video below so you can take that minute to watch it, because it is kind of interesting trying to go through. A lot of information is packed in that 1 minute, and there's probably a lot to talk about, and there's definitely should be more to come, unless Microsoft just signed a contract and realized, oh yeah, we want to go in a completely different direction, which I don't think they'd want to do, because they did say there will be more consoles. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, watching all my videos, as that really does help out the channel. Until next time, God bless.